Welcome on into Big Play, Big Bets. I got the big hat here, but I just don't feel right putting it on. I'm Nick Padone without Big Play Dave today. As always, Big Play, Big Bets is presented to you by Tipico Sportsbook. Make sure you download the Tipico Sportsbook app now. When you do, use promo code BPBets150. And when you start betting on Tipico, you will get the highest cash back in the land. Tipico Sportsbook is changing the way that you bet with their new cashback rewards program. Get up to 5% cash back on the bets that you make. Guys, there's so many sports going on right now. We're going to hit them all on this show today.
I'm ready.
Ryan is locked in here with me. We got NBA playoffs. We got MLB. Get your cash back on Tipico. You got to be 21 years or older to gamble in Ohio. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We will bring in the producer extraordinaire, Ryan, to the show. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on, Nick? I'm happy to be here for Dave once again.
So Dave is out. He's got field day today.
Oh, is that what it is? Field day? Oh, I miss field day.
I miss field day so much.
That was always, but hands down, one of the top 5, probably top 3 days of the year.
And
hands
it's
down.
Beautiful. Like, today's a beautiful day for field day. Like, to run out there, play games. I mean, shoot, I wish I could be out there with him, maybe betting on some of these kids. You got the sack race going on, I'm sure. Like, it would be a lot of fun. Field day was.
Does Reflog have the odds for that? I know he's got the high school football games.
We would have to tap into Reflog odds making for some of the field day activities. But no, field day was always awesome. I always loved it. All right, Tipico also this weekend is rolling out something new for you guys. Bet $30 on a local Ohio team. It could be the Guardians, could be the Reds. For baseball season, bet a $30 bet, at least minimum odds of -200, and you're going to get a $2 bet credit for every hit that the Guardians or the Reds have in that game. So a little added incentive for you guys to bet on baseball with us. Let's actually start this show out with some baseball, Ryan, as our Gardos will be in LA and Anaheim on Saturday. It's going to be Tanner Bybee back on the mound, and he looked good in his last showing. Finally, a little bit of a bounce back for Mr. Bybee.
Yeah, Tanner's looked really good his last couple starts. I feel like that switch flipped in that Atlanta game when he took we won, and he really pitched an absolute gem that game, and ever since then, he looks like the Tanner Bybee that we got accustomed to last year. So Angels aren't very good, first of all, and we know Mike Trout isn't going to be a factor in this one. So I'm feeling really good about the Guardians' chances in this one. Probably one of, if not the hottest teams in baseball right now. And I'm loving the Tanner Bybee over on the strikeouts. I got to imagine probably, 5.5? At this point, it might even be 6.5 for him, but I'm still going over against the Angels.
Same, yeah. Bad Angels team, no Mike Trout. There's no real threat in that lineup. We saw the Guardians take 2 of 3 against the Angels last time these two teams met just a couple weeks ago. Guardians are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. I mean, you've heard us talk about that on all of our shows all week long. This Guardians team right now has been a great bet. We've won a lot of money betting them this week. We'll do the same thing on Saturday. Before we get you guys into the NBA action on Saturday, we also got to give a shout out to the Columbus Crew. On Saturday, we'll host Orlando City SC. Crew money line plus 102. I love taking the Crew money line at plus money when they're at home at lower.com stadium in Columbus. Columbus is 5-2 this year. They do have 6 draws, so they have more draws than they do wins, Ryan. That's great. I couldn't imagine, like the Browns having 6 ties and only 5 wins, throughout a season, which is crazy. Orlando, not that good. They're 4-5 with 4 draws. This to me seems like a great spot for Columbus to get a good win on their home pitch. Bet the Crew, bet Cucho Hernandez anytime goal scorer, and that will be a lot of fun Saturday. All right, let's get into what everybody wants to talk about. NBA playoffs. Game 3 of the playoffs. Celtics-Pacers tip-off Friday. This will now flip to Indiana, and it feels like to me, Ryan, that the Pacers need a win in the worst possible way at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Saturday, because if they lose this Game 3 in Indiana, this series in the Eastern Conference finals here is going to get way out of hand, and Boston kind of seems to me like they have a little bit of a cakewalk on their hands of the NBA.
Yeah, and I mean, Indiana's just got to be absolutely kicking themselves going back to that game one. I mean, you had a chance to set the momentum. You go out there in TD Garden and you get a win, and they blew it. There's no other way to say it than they absolutely blew that game, and that has to sting. And then you factor in for Boston, you're already up 2-0, but the reality is Boston's been playing better road basketball in the playoffs than at home, and that's kind of been a trend from the last couple years. So the fact that they're already up 2-0 and now they're going to go to Indiana, although Indiana is, I believe, undefeated at home in the playoffs this year, so it's going to be a dogfight. You're absolutely right, though, when you say Pacers need one. I don't know if it's going to be game 3 or 4. I don't know if Boston's going to go up 3-0, take their foot off the brake a little, or off the gas a little bit. It's just so hard to go against Boston right now. And as I mentioned, them playing so well on the road. So I'll probably take Boston to go up 3-0.
I know. I agree with you. Right now, Boston seems to be the class of the East. I thought at times throughout that, second round series against the Cavs, Boston played down to their competition. They did it in the first round as well. But here so far, they've been dominant. They, like you said, the Pacers gave away that game 1. For the most part, Boston dominated game 2. Indy is 6-0 at home in the playoffs this year, which is big, but Boston's 4-0 on the road in the playoffs this season.
It's so strange. I heard some stat about them being so good on the road versus them at home. They're like one of the only teams that have consistently been at this level of basketball, that being the conference finals and finals, to not win a ring yet. So maybe this is finally the year they get the monkey off the back.
Yeah, something's got to give in this game, obviously with the undefeated records of Pacers being really good at home, Boston being really good at the road. It feels like on any given night, the star power of Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown is able to will them through these first couple series. We've seen a couple bad Jaylen Brown games. We've seen a couple bad Jason Tatum games. But it feels like when one is off, the other one picks up the slack. And that's kind of just been the recipe for how Joe Mazzulla has been able to get through these playoffs unscathed. Crazy to say again, even without Porzingis, the Celtics still, to me, haven't played their best basketball yet. And they're 7.5-point road favorites in this game. Take Boston.
What I think makes one of the reasons what makes Boston such a good team is you see them if they get in dogfights like they did with our Cavaliers, where they're only putting up 105 points. Which nowadays the NBA isn't much at all.
Right.
They find ways to win those games, but then now they're playing the Pacers, who historically are what? They put up the most points per game in NBA history. Yeah. They're able to also win those type of games. And, nobody has really been able to match that so far that Indiana has faced against in the playoffs. But now they're meeting a totally different monster in the Celtics who can win both ways. And I think that's what makes them such a dominant team.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting come finals time. If either the Mavericks or the T-Wolves, and it's too easy now to tell. And maybe Indiana turns this thing around and, they figure out how to latch up defensively and kind of shut down the duo of Brown and Tatum. But it'll be curious. I'm curious to see, really, in general, if Boston can get out of this first round, which I think, or not first round, this conference final, which I think that they will. If either Minnesota or Dallas could give them a real, true, genuine run for their money. Because candidly, we just haven't seen that happen yet in the Eastern Conference. Like, yeah, the Cavs were able to steal a big one in Boston, but like you're saying, what makes this team so dangerous is they are so good on the road. So I'm taking Boston in game 3 on Saturday, albeit road favorites. Let's go to Sunday. Timberwolves, game 3. This series will be flipped to Dallas. Game 2 is going to be played Friday night, so we don't know the game 2 outcome. At the time that we're recording this, Dallas leads the series 1-0. This series has been interesting because, to me, Minnesota is the team that plays the fun, lovable brand of basketball. They share the ball incredibly well. Of course, Anthony Edwards is their superstar, budding superstar, face of the league in general. But they've got other guys that could get it done as well. Jaden McDaniels, really good wing player that's given them good minutes. Mike Conley, kind of career resurgence. And of course, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert kind of anchoring that front court. However, it's been Dallas so far in this series just because of Luka Doncic, because of Kyrie Irving. Dallas has the star power here, I guess you could say, in terms of guys that have been around the block, guys that are more experienced in the playoffs. for me, what I'm watching for the rest of this series is, does that star power start to fade? You know, do Kyrie Irving and Luka start to get tired as this series prolongs? Because if that's the case, Minnesota has more horses in their stable. I think Minnesota has more pack behind their punch, whereas Dallas has the main two guys in this series. That's how I view it from a whole. But I think once this thing flips to Dallas, that could, in a weird way, benefit the T-Wolves because they have the role players, and you need your role players to step up on the road. I think that could be a good thing for Minnesota. I'm probably just saying that because I'm holding a Minnesota Timberwolves championship ticket. I bet the Timberwolves to win the finals outright, but I do just think they stack up in total better against Dallas. We just got to see if Kyrie and Luka could carry the weight.
Yeah, that was the thing in game one. We saw Kyrie Irving get unlocked. You know, I don't think he was yet to do that in the playoffs, but he really came out. And, you know, you talk about the depth that Minnesota does have. But for Dallas, PJ Washington throughout this entire NBA playoffs has been absolutely phenomenal for them. Supposedly, you know, the third man, but he's really been playing like the second man behind Luka. Obviously, Kyrie stepped up in game one. But then the reason I took the Mavericks in game one was because as good as the Timberwolves are, you had to go to 7 with the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And then you've never been to the Western Conference Finals in 20 years as a franchise, let alone with Anthony Edwards so young. Rudy Gobert, he has had virtually no playoff success, similar, unfortunately, to Donovan Mitchell in Utah. Yeah. We know that. And then Karl Anthony Towns, again, not much playoff experience there. So the reason I went was such an emotional high, I felt like, from that series. They come home, host a Western Conference playoffs. I had Dallas because we know Luka has been to Western Conference finals before. We know Kyrie Irving has had an abundance of success with our Cavaliers in the postseason. And I just think Dallas was built for the moment. Yeah. Right now, this team, they went out during the trade deadline, fixed their holes, and really went all in. So I love Dallas. I think they're going to get the better of Minnesota Timberwolves. I fully expect Minnesota to steal a couple games, 1 or 2, but I still got to ride with Dallas here. I think I'm with Booby. We know he wants to see Kyrie get that ring. Yeah, I would also love that, and I'd love to see Luka get his first ring.
All right. Ryan is on the Mavericks. I'm on the Timberwolves. I feel like my Timberwolves bias is just bleeding through. Like I said, I bet that championship future a while back now, so I'm holding on to it. I'm letting it ride. I'm not going to cash it out or anything. It's literally just a straight future bet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in Game 3 now that this thing flips to Dallas. And like you said, they do seem built for the moment. They've got the star power, so we shall see how things unfold. All right, Ryan, I think that's a show. Coming up, I will say on the show, we'll have some more fun things to bet on because the NBA conference finals are here. That's cool. You know, we got kind of like the Final Four, if you will. But then after that, it's NBA finals and it's Guardians, a whole lot of Guardians baseball. So we're going to start working in some other stuff on the program. We're going to get you guys some UFC bets. We're going to do a little bit of boxing. We'll get some more soccer. We'll do some tennis for you coming up. We got a ton of stuff planned in store with our guys over at Tipico Sportsbook. So make sure you download that Tipico Sportsbook app now. When you do, use that promo code BPBets150. Helps the show out a ton. But what you'll get out of that is 2 $75 protected bets to get you started, and then you could start getting that cash back with us on Tipico. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Big Play, Big Bets. Next week, hopefully, we'll have Big Play Dave back in studio. We'll be able to put the big hat back on. Ryan, appreciate you joining
Absolutely.
me.
Hope Dave's having a wonderful day at Field Day.
Hope Field Day is a blast. I wish I was out there outside with them. And we will see you guys next week on the show. Thank you.